Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Marketing for Doctors podcast. I'm Bob Miglani, your host. On this show, we're going to talk to marketers, salespeople, digital creators, influencers, all to help you, yes, you, the doctor, to grow your medical practice. We're going to talk marketing specifically. We're going to talk sales strategies. We're going to talk analytics. We're going to talk digital. We're going to talk social. We're going to have great guests on this program so that you get a chance to understand, learn, and apply these principles and these ideas and these strategies to help you grow your practice. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. This is Bob Miglani. Welcome to the Marketing for Doctors podcast. I've got an amazing guest today. His name is Dr. Harbir Sian. Dr. Sian, how are you? Harbir, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Bob. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate this. I'm happy to be here.
Dude, you're a legend. You're a legend. You're a pro, iconic as you can get.
Wow.
So Dr. Sian I met you, it's Vision Expo or something. I don't remember. And I was like, guy is so dressed up. I thought it was a model walking down the
Yeah,
runway,
yeah.
with a suit and everything, with a three-piecer. I think it had a three-piecer, but
It probably was.
and so Dr. Sian is an optometrist. He has practice in Canada. He is also a host of a podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast called 2020. And also, if that's not enough, to serve patients, to share voices and experiences with other people, he's also a social media influencer, and he's got a wonderful public profile. I really enjoy his podcast myself. I listen to it whenever I can in the car, and I get a lot of value from his sharing of expertise. So I'm so delighted to have you, Harbir. So we're going to get into it. We're going to share a lot of great, rich content today to help our audience understand marketing for doctors, what it means. So tell us a little bit about your journey, Harbir. Tell me where you
Yeah.
are, how you got to where you are right now.
Bob, that's one of the best intros I've ever had. So thank you very much. I'm like, I know I got a beard, so you can't tell I'm like blushing over here, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Where to start? So actually, I think maybe the best place to start is that we actually have three practices now, my business partner and I. And maybe the most important piece of information that I think kind of raises some eyebrows with doctors is that we have two different modes of practice. Two of the practices are sublease LensCrafters practices, and one is a standalone private practice, independent private practice. And so we see the industry from these different angles. And in fact, the newest sublease practice, which just opened a couple of months ago, we're really in the process of building it up. With that one, we are one of the early adopters of teleoptometry in Canada. So we're one of the few clinics in Canada that are using teleoptometry right now. And so, I think that's kind of an important thing to state of where I'm coming from. Definitely these two different modalities, and even within the sublease modality, a couple of different approaches. And so we have to talk to our patients differently. We have to approach or search for patients differently. So that's a big part of my life. I practice, people still ask me if I'm practicing seeing patients, given all the other stuff that I do. But yeah, I'm still seeing patients 4 or 5 days a week, including one tele day. So that's keeps me
I want to
busy.
know about teleoptometry.
Yeah,
Talk to us about like what it is, why you got into it, and what it looks like. How does that? I'm so curious about that. It's so interesting that
for
you mentioned
sure. I'd love to. Yeah, you know what? Stay tuned for the 2020 podcast. I got to do a little selfish
that. Okay.
plug here, but stay tuned to the 2020 podcast sometime soon. I'm gonna give my real inside view of what it was like to set up the tele practice. But
Yeah.
the high level is essentially, we got some really high tech equipment in the office, which Essilor has provided, given that it's a LensCrafters sublease. And we have an amazing technician in the office who will go take the patient through all the steps, do all the pre-test plus some additional tests that we might not even do for our patients in person, in our other offices.
Mhm.
She gets the patient in the exam room. I pop up on a TV screen in the exam room. I've reviewed the information, the Optomap images, the other scans, the slit lamp, all this. And I do the refraction remotely. So she will put the phoropter in front of the patient, and I'll control the phoropter controls from home. And, which is better, one or two, the usual steps. And she'll move that away. I'll have a conversation with the patient. And you know, so we were quite selective with the patients, and we have to be in the beginning for sure, like
Sure.
kind of healthy, certain age group, make sure we're not missing any obvious pathology.
Mm,
If anybody comes in with certain type of complaint, we'll ask them to come back on a day when we have a doctor in office.
mhm,
Or if I pick something up during the exam, again, we'll ask them to come back in depending on the urgency.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And I suppose the conversation is key. And so is it like a big screen? You're talking to the screen,
Yeah, it's like
having
a
that conversation?
40 some inch TV. It's a pretty
Wow.
good size screen.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And I love that. And then so why did you decided to do that? Why did you, is this like an opportunity? It's like, let's try it or just,
Yeah, you know, weirdly enough, so it's in Victoria, BC. If anybody's been out here, Victoria is a beautiful city. It's a city. It's not a small, remote town, rural, nothing, right? It's an actual city. It's just a small city. But it's on the island. We call it the island. You know, it's not like Alcatraz. It's like a beautiful island. People will, you know, visit. We go there all the time in summer. But people just don't want to move there. It's like from here, from I live in Vancouver, in the city of Vancouver. It's kind of a 4 hour journey when you get to you have to get to the ferry terminal, get on, drive, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people you don't want to make that commute daily, but people don't seem to want to live out there. Younger people don't seem to want to live out there.
sure.
Most of the docs who are out there are older. So there's a demand, and you know we were kind of doing our research, and on average,
Mhm.
we called around looking for just a routine eye exam. I'm 41 years old. If I want a 41-year-old eye exam, I got to wait 2 to 3 months
Wow.
in that
Seriously.
area. So the
Wow.
demand was huge. And obviously, I'm not going to uproot my family and move out there. I you know
Mm,
wouldn't mind spending time out there, but we're not going to move out there. We have 3 kids, and you know they're going to school and everything. So I thought the opportunity to see patients, the demand is there. The patients need eye exams. If we can set up this technology, we could serve the
yeah.
you know
Patience.
the
Yeah.
region. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
I love it. I love it. That's wonderful. So does that allow you as a kind of an interesting way to market as well? I mean, is like, how do you do the marketing around that? Is there people who are like, because most people I suppose would be like, well, I don't know, I really want to talk to my doctor.
Yeah.
But then maybe the younger generation is like, I mean, telehealth, it's kind of used to it. COVID changed a lot of things, right?
Yeah. Well, certainly COVID changed a lot of things. You know, if we tried doing this in 2019, we would have a very different response. But people are used to looking at screens and talking to doctors through their phone and that. And we've had a good mix, to be honest, so far. It's only been a couple of months, and it started slow. It's starting to pick up now, to be totally transparent with you. But we've
Yeah.
had a good mix of patients from, we won't see like senior patients, but we were seeing patients in sort of the early 60s. And
Mm,
on the younger side, you know, young adults, 18, 19 kind of age group.
mhm.
Um, so people are kind of open to it. Marketing, to be honest with you, I haven't figured out yet because we just opened the doors a couple of months ago, and there's been a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going, just trying to get the thing working and running.
Yes.
Um, but I think so far, just from talking about it, and so when people kind of putter into the lens crafters and the staff say, "Oh, we have teleoptometry, we have this new technology,"
Mm,
people are actually quite interested. Just the conversation is enough to kind of spark the interest. So I
yeah.
think when we start kind of letting people know in the area a little bit more,
Yeah.
um, it's certainly going to bring more attention.
I love it. I love it. So, all right. So let's go into marketing a little bit. Our audience are doctors of all kinds. And so they're listeners here that we want to give them some value and some stories, some insights from your experiences over the years. So how do you look at marketing? A lot of doctors are reluctant to use the M word, say, well, I'm just a doctor, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want to sell anything, right? I
right,
don't want to do marketing. Let somebody else handle that.
right.
What's your view on marketing? Let's talk about that first.
So, 100% marketing is absolutely necessary today, right? I mean, obviously, Bob, in your position, you're gonna vouch for that too. But
Yes.
there's the days of like, let's put up a shingle and like, you know, open the doors and see what happens, is those are gone. And I've personally experienced that with our practices. You know, with the sublease, we've had support from lens crafters in the marketing they do, and of course they have the buying power and the marketing dollars to do that. But
Mhm.
with the private practice, it's just us, you know, one little practice trying to figure out how to get people in the door. And you know, marketing to me is a really broad term, right? And I think sometimes we think marketing, we think just digital, we just think Google ads, Facebook ads, that kind of thing, which is important. But the, you know, the shaking hands and kissing babies part is still really important. That community engagement, the getting out there, being present, like people need to know your name and know your face.
Yes.
Um, our office, our private practice is in a city called Surrey, which is a, you know, just 30-minute drive from Vancouver. It's
Yeah.
a very big, busy
Yeah.
city. Like
Yeah.
people think Vancouver is a big city. I think Surrey is bigger than Vancouver actually is
Mm,
growing. So, and we're like on one side of Surrey. So for me to try to market to the other hundreds of thousands of people who live in that city is
yeah.
crazy. Like I have to figure out how
Yes.
I'm going to get my name out there. And
Yes.
so marketing is super important.
Yeah. How do you get your name out there? I mean, you've got a lot of competition, right? People can choose to go to optometrists based on, location, the plan that they're on, the provincial plans that you're on in
Yeah.
Canada, insurance plans that they're on here in the US, right? And then you have the first step, which is your website, but then you've got Google Business Profile, you've
Yeah.
got reviews.
Yeah.
So how do you think about like the allocation of all the different channels of marketing? And then do you do it or other people do it? So to walk me through your mindset of marketing.
Gosh, I don't have a really clear roadmap. It's funny, Bob, when I talk about, I do lectures on like dry eye or
Yeah.
myopia management. I'm speaking to ODs who want to get into this specialty. One of my first things I tell them is you got to develop like an algorithm or a roadmap of like if patient A walks in, what's the path they're going to take if patient B walks in. But for this, I don't have that, unfortunately. So I can tell you, for me, I've just dabbled. Like I've been practicing for 14 years, and been owner for 10 years. So for 10 years,
Mm,
I've been like, let me just throw stuff at the wall and see what
yeah.
sticks, right? So I
Yeah.
did my own Facebook marketing. I did my own Google ads. I put stuff in newspapers. I did mail outs. We still do community engagement where we'll set up a tent at an event and we'll go
Yeah.
sit and talk to people and things like that.
Yeah.
I have also hired people to do it. So, we've hired someone to build our website in the last couple of years, and they do Google ads. I hired another person a little while back who did Facebook ads. So I've kind of gone through a big
Yes.
mishmash of everything,
Yes.
and it's tough to say exactly what's worked really, really well. I'd say the digital stuff, it does work sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't work. Maybe it's dependent on who's doing it and how good they are. I know that when I did it, like I was trying to track the results and it was really hard to do myself,
Yes.
especially Facebook ads. Like I find like that's something that you probably want to hire someone to do.
Yes. For sure.
Um,
Sure.
but I'll tell you what, my path to like trying to get awareness and presence online and my form of marketing has been more about personal branding.
Yeah.
So building my brand as an optometrist and who I am and creating my authority in the space
Yes.
has been really helpful for me to bring new patients in. Actually, that's where I feel like I have succeeded. The other
Mm,
stuff, I'm not sure. But like I get people coming in saying, "Oh, I saw you on Instagram. I saw you on TikTok. You're the guy who
right.
talked about myopia. You're the guy who talked about this, or you did a
Mm,
TED talk." These things that have
mhm.
brought people in. I don't want to be the sole kind of reason for people coming in, but at
Yes.
least they kind of find our clinic because of some of that stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that. So actually, there's something deeper there, which is this idea of scale, because this is the challenge I think a lot of doctors have who become brands, quote unquote, brand ambassadors of their business to the
Hmm.
world, right? So you've got
Hmm.
your become. So one of the things I talk a lot about with my team and others, and Dr. Miglani, who's my spouse, who's an optometrist, and is this idea of like, do I use social media as my practice or as myself, right? Like, and that is, well, I've got a media account, I've got an Instagram account for my practice. Okay, but do people follow practices? They
Yeah,
follow
not so
people,
much.
right?
Right.
They follow people. And this
100%.
is this is this is why, kind of this is why it's that dilemma of like, well, they follow me, but then how do I triage them to this location, that
That's
location?
it. 100%. That's a very valid point, and I've personally seen that myself. So I will post like the same content on my Instagram page. Now, granted, the number of followers are different, but even that too is a point into itself. Like I have had a hard time building the followers to Clarity Eye Care,
Yeah.
whereas I've had more success building the followers to Harbir Sian, right? And that's because people want to see people, and so this is I tell ODs all the time and other doctors too. Build your own Instagram or your own social media. Have your clinic stuff. It has to be there. You have to have a little bit of presence and sort of like you said, triage or drive people to Clarity Eye Care. So then they see, oh, okay, they offer these services, they have these doctors, they sell these frames,
Right.
and then from there they can call the staff and book an appointment or go online and book an appointment.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of like the funnel that's kind of bringing them to
Yes.
that page.
Right.
And certainly you want to have this separate pages. I do see some people who have just like their business page and then they're the face of the clinic page. But I think there's value in having separate
Yeah.
pages.
It's hard because, people don't follow Nike. They might follow Phil Knight,
Mm,
and,
mm. They
same
follow
thing.
Nike athletes, right?
Right. Nike athletes. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
And then they'll
related.
go to Nike to see what shoes was LeBron wearing, right?
Right.
And that's how they'll do it. And that's the way I kind of I'm not LeBron, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's how I
Yeah.
kind of look at this too.
Oh,
Is like
you're the Canada's
I'm
optometry
the
LeBron. Let's
Canadian
put it.
optometry
Optometrist.
based in Vancouver version of LeBron. Okay.
Right.
Uh
But do you another question here? So so a lot of docs, including my spouse, she's like, I don't want to open my profile. I don't want to open my Instagram profile to the world. I get
yeah,
all
yeah.
these requests. I don't want to do it. I'm like, you're gonna have to do it at some point. Just
Yeah.
nip it in the
Yeah.
bud. The world has gone completely transparent. Just do it. And she's like, So what do you say to that? I mean, yours is an open profile, right? I mean, it's like,
Yeah. Okay. So there's something I've been preaching for a long time, but it requires more work. And this is the problem, I think for busy optometrists, for busy doctors, it's hard to find the time and the motivation to do it. But I'm sort of on the border of the millennial and what's the older Gen X?
Gen Z or
No,
X. No, not X. Is it?
whatever
I don't know.
the
Yeah, yeah,
older generation of millennial. Like I'm right on the border of like
yeah,
what millennials and the other one is.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so I adopted social media kind of early in my career. It was available to me, but I grew up without it. So I kind of know life without technology as well.
Right, right.
Commodore 64 was the computer.
Yeah,
I
yeah, okay,
remember that,
okay.
right? So I'm old enough to know what that is.
All right.
Uh, so and at the same time, I adopted social media. So I was fortunate to grow up in that space.
Yes,
Younger generations, they were like born with a cell phone in
right.
their hand, right? So
Yeah.
I get there's like all these different perspectives. Now, here's what I suggest to most people who like doctors who want to be on social media. I think you should have a personal, private profile.
Mhm.
Okay. You should have an open doctor profile. And then you should have a clinic profile, but the clinic and even your doctor one could be run by somebody else if you want, right? They can just come and say, okay, Dr. Miglani, time to film some content. I'll go post it for you.
Yeah.
But that's your open. That's what anybody searches you, they'll find that one. And it's the doctor speaking, talking about things and kind of developing that authority. And I have my private closed profile, which, for example, was mine and my wife's anniversary yesterday. I posted
Yes.
pictures of
Well,
us.
congratulations. Happy
Thank you.
anniversary, by the way. It's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you very much. But those pictures went on the private
Yeah.
profile. I don't put that on my OD profile. So that's how I distinguish those things.
Yeah.
And like, that way people are not prying super deep into my personal life, but they are for sure able to go as deep as they want into my professional career because I want them to see who I am.
Right. I find that people want to see, hey, what's going on behind the scenes a little bit.
Hmm.
Like, okay, this is this doing this doing this doing this,
Yep.
and then that makes that authenticity, increase authenticity and a bond and a trust, one of the things that I looked at when I started doing social media, this is, years ago, I was working in a big company and I was writing some books and I wanted to get myself out there and I started just tapping into Facebook at the time,
Hmm.
and I would write, I would share, I would write and share. I had these rules. And then I put it on a sticky pad, I put it on a computer. I'm like, okay, I just got to do this. Never be negative. So always be positive. Two is
Yeah.
be
Good.
instructional. Give specific instructions that what you learned that can be helping with somebody else, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Third is be, write detailed descriptions, and then the fourth is, smile, because I was always
Yeah.
very serious,
Simple.
so it's
Yeah.
like very simple things. And I think you
Yeah.
have to have those rules, but I liked what you've laid out here, right? So let's talk about social media for a
Can I,
second.
sorry, Bob, before
Yeah,
we switch gears, or maybe this might be
yeah,
a segue to what you're going to say, but
yeah,
I like that you had those rules. And when I talk about social media or digital marketing to ODs, I have sort of my three pillars that I like to kind of share as well. And the number one is in line with yours, is to provide value always. Every time you're posting something, it's like, what is the value? Don't just slap like 25% off. Yeah, I mean,
right,
you could do those from time to time. You got to like do the sale things, but
yeah, yeah,
majority of your posts should always be like, what value? And value could be like, this is going to make someone smile today. It's going to
that's
make
right.
them laugh, or it's going to teach them something. The second is engagement, especially on social media. If somebody comments, respond to it, or go find other people's posts that you can comment on and create that engagement. That'll help create more following. And the last thing is consistency. And that's probably the hardest thing for people, is like, just, it doesn't have to mean that you post every single day, but you have some sort of cadence every couple of days or every few days. And then also posting the same type of thing across platforms. So for example, I'll post on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and if it's a video, YouTube, depending on what it is that I'm posting, but I'll try to have the same tone. Like if I have kind of a casual or I'll have the same message, the tone might change a little, right? On
Right.
LinkedIn, it's a bit more professional, Instagram a
Right.
bit more casual. But that consistency is key. So those are the three pillars I would recommend everybody
Yeah.
follow.
I absolutely love it. I think the digital karma, which is what I call like the posting and liking and sharing other,
I like
is
that.
key.
Digital karma, that's
Because
good.
I see so many people and I comment on so many things, I like and whatever, and I see nothing, no love back. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? This is a
Yeah,
relationship.
totally.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
one of the things we learned, and I want to go into this a little bit deeper, is that as an optometrist, a doctor, or any kind of plastic surgeon, you gotta kind of know if you're going into the world of marketing online, you gotta know what you want, right? Like a lot of doctors are like, okay, I'm an optometrist, I'm a plastic surgeon, I'm a dermatologist, whatever, and I just offer these general services, right? But you have to kind of figure out what theme you want to kind of push in advance.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, dry eyes, right? So a lot of doctors say, Bob, I want to be a dry eye specialist. Okay, great. Well, then what are you going to do? So that's number one. That's good to know. Now, number two, you've got to know the persona of the patient
Right.
you're trying to influence and reach.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a 40-year-old woman, who's spending a lot of time on the computers. Okay. Okay. So then you know that. So first, you know what you're trying to achieve. Second thing, you have to know the audience you're speaking to.
Mm,
And third is then you have to shoot that content very specifically.
right.
So I bet you have a very strategic way to think about this. It may not be an algorithm per se, but very strategic way to think about it and then you thoughtfully shoot content for that person, right? So
Yeah.
you say, hi, today, I want to talk to you about, computers and how that's impacting our eyes, and then go into meibomian gland dysfunction, et cetera, right? And
Correct.
therefore, it's valuable content. And then the idea is for that content then to be shared among this platform, this platform, this platform, this platform. And I think if you have that kind of a thinking, I think a lot of doctors like yourself have that, and I see that come across. It's not just, hey, I'm having a salad. Here's a photo of my salad, and
Yes.
look how
Correct.
healthy I am. Because nobody cares about how you are. It's
Right.
about what you're going to give, to your point.
Exactly.
Do you see that? Do you have that kind of a frame
That's
of mind?
100% correct. Yeah, yeah, 100%. So the providing the value is, all right, what is the value that I'm going to provide, or what's the message I want to share
Yeah.
in this post that I'm about to make? And for example, you know, you try to do, I'm not one for like super clickbait kind of like content.
Right.
But you got to try to make it so somebody stops scrolling,
Yes.
right? So that comes across in like how you are,
Right.
right, and your mannerisms and that, but also like what's your leading statement? What are you saying in
Yes.
that video? So for example, if I had an ortho case, video, like what if I told you that you could see during the day without having to wear your glasses?
Right.
How cool would that be?
Right.
And then like let's talk about how that works. When or the other way on dry eye, like do you find yourself like rubbing your eyes at the end of the day, or things like that? You might ask your patient even, but you just do it with a bit more enthusiasm on the
Yes.
video.
Yeah.
And certainly that stops people from scrolling. And you can notice if you follow your social media numbers, how many times it's been shared or commented on.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then
find, yeah. Go ahead, please.
no, so then you see what the engagement's like, and then you could put a few bucks behind it. That's some easy stuff that like doctors can just simply do from your phone and say, "Oh, that posted well. Let me put $50 or $100 behind that post and
Yeah.
boost it,
Yeah.
and it'll get more engagement and maybe drive more people in." Uh, I don't want to forget to talk about one thing at some point, Bob, that's been really helpful for us, and that's using some influencer marketing. So I don't know if that falls into what we want to talk about today,
Yeah.
but
Let's do that. Let's go into it. Let's go into it. Tell me
okay.
about.
So one thing that's been helpful is having some influence. We haven't done a ton, but the ones that we've used have been really helpful, and we've had a couple of different scales.
Mhm.
And I know when I talk about this, it kind of scares people. Like, how do I even start, right? So I want to tell you the story about how I found a couple of influencers for one of our practices. Um, our Abbotsford practice, this LensCrafter sublease, it's in a mall, and Abbotsford's about an hour outside of Vancouver, and there were these lovely ladies at the kind of in their early 40s at the time when we opened, and they're two sisters who were bloggers, style fashion bloggers, and kind of talking about sort of midlife-ish kind of style and the way they
Yeah.
dress, and they got kids and their families, and I've started following them on Instagram. I didn't know them personally,
Mhm.
and then years later, like 5, 6 years later, I saw one of them posted an image of she had glasses on her head,
Mm,
she was actually posting about dyeing her hair. She's like, oh God, I have to dye my hair now.
yeah.
And she's like, oh, and by the way, like I took this picture. I forgot I had my readers on my head. Also, that's happening to me now in my mid or late 40s. And she, bless her, she didn't change the photo. She posted the photo and commented on the glasses. I was like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Good for you, right?
Yeah.
Owning it.
Yeah.
But I saw that and I commented, to your point earlier about kind of
Yeah.
sharing the love, and I like their posts and stuff. But I commented, I said, hey, Laurel, you look great. But by the way, have you heard of multifocal contact lenses? We could help get rid of your dry,
Boom.
your reading glasses.
Yeah. Boom.
And she responded, DM'd me back, and I was like, hey, just come in. I'll do the fit for free. Let me just see like what your prescription is. I need to learn these things about you. We fit her in some multifocals. She went home. She posted about, wow, I can't believe I can see without my reading glasses.
Yeah.
And we partnered with a contact lens company to give her a year supply of contacts. That was kind of the trade-off essentially.
Yeah.
It was inexpensive for us.
Yeah.
And we got like a dozen new patients in the exact same patient profile, that same avatar,
Oh,
that
wow.
40, mid to late 40s, likes to
Wow.
dress well,
Yes.
kind of just well to do, has
Yes.
kids, has a busy life.
Yes.
Oh, I saw Laurel posted something about some contacts. Oh yeah, let's do it. Um, and then
Wow.
her sister came in, who's like a few years older than
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, same thing, stylish fashion blogger.
Yeah.
She had laser surgery, so the multifocals didn't quite work for her.
Yeah.
But she's like, I got dry eye from my laser surgery. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, good. Good news. We do RF, we do IPL, we have advanced dry eye treatments. Let
Mm.
me do some treatments for you for free,
Yeah.
and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
And she would post every time she'd come in. I'm at Dr. Cyan's office. We're about to do radio frequency. And a couple of months later, she's like, guys, I like my redness is gone. Like I can blink normally.
Wow.
And lo and behold, we got like a handful of new, dry eye consults for, again, minimal cost to us. So those types
Mm.
of, and they are what we would call
Amazing.
like micro influencers. Their Instagram profiles are like 3, 4, 5,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They blog and stuff. It's about finding people who are engaged in the community locally where your
Mm.
practice is.
Yes.
You don't need to find the 100,000 follower
Right.
person
Right.
who's got reach across the country,
Right.
because we're just trying to build our practice based on, what's our demo.
For sure. For
And so
sure.
that was really powerful. We've had some bigger influencers who've helped us
Yeah.
too, but I love the story of the micro local influencer. I think
Yeah.
everybody can find that in their community.
Yeah. And it started with you being engaged, right? You've
Yeah.
got to, you're not afraid to just say, hey, let me just share some valuable information with you that might be helpful in your life.
Yeah.
That's what it begins with. It begins with you saying, you know what, I just don't want to just be in a clinic. I want to reach more patients. How can I reach and serve more people out in the world? And I do that by this. And of course, it's good for my business because that's, it sparks interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was, of course, my goal was to have Laurel come in, but I know that she's got a following and other people are commenting and hoping they might see it too, right? And
Yes.
draw other people. It has a trickle down effect,
Yeah.
that engagement. You never know who's going to see the comment.
Yeah. A lot of doctors, I think, and I want to kind of, get into a couple more things and we're going to wrap it up soon because I want to be respectful of your time. You've been so helpful. We're talking to Dr. Harbir Sian. He's the podcast guru of optometry and the LeBron of optometry in Vancouver, however we call it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
one of the things I want to talk about is, okay, so time. So, how much time are you dedicating to marketing? A lot of doctors like, oh my God, this is so much for me. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Who does it in my office? How do I do it? Is posting there? I'll tell you, a lot of people don't even have cameras in their computers in their offices. I kid you not. I talk to doctors all day long, but they have a phone. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you have a
Yeah.
phone, so a phone has a camera. So how
Yeah.
long does it take? Does it take a lot of work to do social media marketing or digital marketing? Give us a sense of that.
In the years past, yeah, it did take a lot of time. These days it doesn't take that much time. And I think the reason is because of the younger generation that's now working in our practices. So up until recently, I would ask my staff to make some social media posts and they'll do it a little bit, but they're not as inspired.
Mhm.
But recently we've had some younger staff come in, they're in their early 20s. They're on social media all day long, TikTok and Instagram. And I ask them to just make a couple of posts and they'll jump at the
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
So that makes my life much, much easier. I'll show them a couple of things that maybe I saw when I was scrolling, like, hey, these look like cool posts. Let's
yeah,
recreate these. And we'll plan for like next week or something. Everybody's gonna do their hair and everybody's gonna look good. And then we're gonna just take a bunch of photos and then we'll have a couple of weeks worth of content.
right.
It makes life a lot easier. Now, that's from the clinic side. it shouldn't take very long. Honestly, it really shouldn't, especially given there's so much content out there. You could just straight copy it.
Yeah,
Just flat out copy what other people are posting on
that's right.
Instagram, whether it's dentists or other doctors or other, I like following videos from barbershops because
Yeah,
they come up with creative stuff and they're trying to get new customers in too, right? So there's kind of stuff like that that's kind of
I
cool.
love it. I love it.
Um,
How often
you
do
know,
you do post? How often do you post as your practice as well as your
so
personal?
my it's I again I don't have like a super strict cadence, but we try to post on the clinic at least a couple times a week.
Yeah,
It's not a ton. Again, Pete, you're not likely going to get a ton of followers on
right,
your clinic page, to be totally honest. It's there
right,
so when somebody does land on it,
right.
they see that you posted something recently. Oh, that's kind of a funny post or a cool post. My like optometry or Harbir Sian.od Instagram page. Yeah, that's probably like 3, 4 times a week. And again, I don't have I know some of my colleagues and friends, they have like everything planned out in these calendars, and I don't
Yeah,
do any of that. I just
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
post if I have an idea, I kind of do it on the
Exactly.
fly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And at the same time for me, then it takes away the stress. Like there might be a week where I didn't post anything and I'm okay with that. I don't want my colleagues and my friends out there to feel stressed like I have to post something and then the quality goes away, the
yeah.
interest, goes down. So
Yeah. And one of the reasons I find that's really important to have that personal connection, get out there, your thing is because patients stalk you, right? This is
yes, they
not my
do. They
word.
do.
This is the Gen Z in my team and they're their words, they stalk you. I'm like stalker in my day. I'm a Gen X, right? Stalker in my day was a bad thing.
Totally.
Like guys stalking you, girls don't stalk, guys stalking you. And now it's like they stalk you. What that means is that they want to, you're presenting a message in your marketing, right, to patients out there, prospective patients. You're doing, whether it's Google ads, you're doing, some sort of advertisements or marketing or promotion efforts. Then they want to check you out. They want to stalk you. They want to see you. They follow you. And then they kind of look at your content and say, then they make the decision to
Mm,
come and visit. And most
mm,
of that, especially in healthcare, what I've found was on the weekends, right? Weekends are when people are actually looking healthcare for Sunday night. Hey, I have to go see my eye doctor. I've got to make an
hmm.
appointment for my surgeon or whatever. So they're kind of checking you out there. And
Yeah.
if you don't have any content that's useful, valuable, interesting, and fresh, they might say, well, he's not really relevant. I'm going to go somebody else. So that's why I think it's really important to post frequently and to do it in a way that it provides cover for your
Yeah.
other marketing messages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that
Yeah.
100%. And people do definitely stalk. They'll come in and they'll say, "Oh, I saw that you did the thing last week or you did this recently," or
Yeah.
people I've never met before,
Yeah.
right? Or I only see once a year.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. It's so that people are consuming the content for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about two more things that we kind of wrap up. And one is, what content do you post? Like people say, Bob, what do I say? I don't think I have a lot to say,
Mm,
And so, what are the themes that you think about? Do you think about your business and you say, okay, you know what? I really want to grow my dry eye clinic, or I've really got this patient case I just had with OrthoK, for example.
hmm.
What do you decide on what to say?
So it's incredible how much stuff we have to actually say and what we could like it's endless, right? If you think about what we do day in day out. Now it's just we just don't feel like it's that important because we do it day in day out, but for the person who's consuming it, it likely is brand new knowledge.
Yeah.
And so even the most mundane thing we do can actually be really interesting to the other person who's consuming this content who's landed on your page. So
Mm,
that could go from as simple as, you know, here we sell this eye drop and it's great because of XYZ, right? And if you have dry eyes and so on, or here's my favorite frame of the day, or here our rep is visiting today. Here's Ruby, like meet Ruby who's bringing in our Gucci frames. Like let's talk to her a little bit about, all sorts of. There's just endless things that you could talk about. Come up with Frame Friday, or talk about your fun thing that happened this week, or talk about a medical case, like you said.
yeah.
There's endless talk about the optomap that you have and why it's different than other retinal imaging. Talk about my biography. Again, there's so many things you could talk about, and you can repost or redo content every few months anyway, so
Yeah.
it's really kind of endless.
Yeah.
I think we just have this weird mental block like, oh, I don't know if people care about this.
Right. Right. That's the thing. People, oh, why would somebody be interested in what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
But all of those things are what help build your authority in the space, right? So
yes.
every time they see the doctor talking about something medical, that
Hmm.
helps in the patient's mind, that elevates the doctor as the authority and the
Yes.
entity that they need to value.
Yeah, and I guess what the sort of as we talk, as we wrap up here, I want to talk about your podcast because optometrists. I mean, are so interesting because you deal with so many multifaceted things. So tell us about how your journey in podcasting. Tell us what you've learned and any offerings that you want to any information that might be helpful for our audience. And then has it brought you like the sort of someone who a cynic would say, has it helped you with your practice? Have you gotten more patients as a result of that? What have you gained
Yeah.
as a result of doing all this marketing? So let's just, those two questions talk
I
about.
appreciate the chance to promote the podcast.
Of
Thank you very
course.
much to chat about it. So the 2020 podcast, it's almost 5 years in now, over 150 episodes, and
Wow.
it started as to be completely transparent, it was my way of trying to build a bit more of a reputation within the industry.
Mm.
So it wasn't actually public facing; it was more inward, right? Obviously, the most of the content is for ECPs, um, and it was a way for me to kind of again develop my authority in the industry as somebody people would want to trust and speak to, or hire as a speaker, or things like that. And I would bring on people from outside of optometry. Initially, the first 8 or 10 episodes, I think I only had one optometrist, and it was about personal development, business development. I'll
Yep.
bring on a CEO from this place, an athlete or
Mhm.
somebody else. How can we draw their stories and use them in optometry? And it's continued to grow. Now, most of my guests are within eye care, but we're always talking about how just to be better. It's not so much clinical conversations. It's
Yeah.
like, how can I get through this difficult time? How can I build my practice? So on.
Mm.
And it's been really, really great. And it's certainly helped me achieve that initial goal of kind of developing a presence within the industry.
Yeah.
Um, but to go back to, I kind of use this phrase a few times now, from a patient perspective, people see me interviewing other respected people in the industry, and it helps build my authority and kind of
Mm.
my level of respect, even from patients. They see if I'm hosting a podcast speaking to a bunch of other people, that I must have some level of,
Yes.
authority in the
Trust.
industry.
Yeah.
And so it's helped build in that indirectly. Patients see that I'm doing all these things. I'm speaking on stage, I'm going to conferences, and that, in their mind must mean that I'm somehow important,
Yeah.
to put it bluntly, and not to inflate my own ego, but just to
For
put it
sure.
bluntly. And so for that reason, people come in, and new
Yeah.
patients will come in and say, wow, I see that you speak at these things, or you do these
Yeah.
things. And
Right.
if I'm on stage educating other optometrists, I suppose that means I must have some level of knowledge to be able to do that. So
Right.
that's where it's been indirectly helpful.
Mhm.
I don't really market the podcast to the public,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do get random people listening to it for sure.
Yeah. No, I love that. And especially when you're at conferences, I think it's really powerful because it tells the potential patient, hey, he's staying up to date about
Yeah,
what's going on.
yeah,
And these are medical conferences, right? These are
yeah,
not like parties or whatever. These are medical conferences. So when you do a live stream or you're just posting a photo or whatever with your colleagues, it's really important to demonstrate the halo of trust with that. I had a
yeah.
friend who used to work for Bill Clinton and some years ago, and Bill Clinton used to tell him, hey, listen, when you walk into a room, you find the person everybody loves and you stand next to him because you get the halo of that
That's awesome.
trust,
I
right?
love
Which
that.
is like a medical
Yeah, yeah,
conference, right? It's sort of like, hey, there's a lot of white coats here.
yeah,
I'm with him. I'm with her. It's kind of
yeah.
thing. It's like,
That's totally what happens too. Actually, it's funny. Very much what happens.
yeah.
But
So
but
let's,
so
yeah,
indirectly, I would say it's been very valuable.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not the same as directly marketing to your patients.
yeah. But it goes hand in hand. I mean, that's the thing is that I think you do marketing, direct patient marketing, but then some of those patients, I'd say about increasingly 50, 60% of those patients are going to stalk you and check out your other stuff
Yeah,
because it's just natural to check out the doctor because reviews are not enough today. Everyone got pretty good reviews. We've all
yeah.
figured out the review algorithm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ask them, be kind, time
Mm-hmm.
with them and all of that, right? So we have to move beyond reviews. And then when you move beyond reviews, it's like, what else is there? Well, it's their Instagram, are they on LinkedIn? Are they doing all these other things? So as we wrap up here, Harbir, so tell us one piece of advice for doctors listening in right now we're saying, okay, I want to improve my marketing. Of all the years of experience you've got, what is that one? I mean, I know there's a lot of things we talked about, but that one piece of advice right now that you'd give to a doctor who says, I want to be a better marketer. I want to be the LeBron of optometry in Canada. I want to be like Dr. Sian. What
Uh, so the one thing I leave people with, again, given that like I spend a lot of time on social media, you know, on the social media marketing side of things, the one thing I tell the other doctors is really just pick up the phone and make a video, right? And you'll realize it's not that hard, and just post it. You know, on the social media side of things, pick up your phone
don't
and
delete it.
don't
Post
delete it.
it.
And here's the thing, don't like just for the first time. Now I'm 100%, I use a tripod and stuff like that now when I do it,
Yeah,
but the first time, because I just want you to get comfortable with the
yeah,
space and what it looks like.
yeah,
Okay, open your front camera, right? You know, the front facing
yeah,
camera,
yeah.
and hold it towards yourself and say, hey guys, it's Dr. Cyan at Clarity Eye Care. I just wanted to let you know that we offer these services. If you're interested, please come on in, let us know, or give us a phone call. We'll be happy to chat. Boom. How long did that take? Do that,
Yeah.
post that, just do
5
it.
seconds, yeah.
Realize how easy it is. It'll just get you over that initial, you know, in chemistry, there's these activation energy that you got to get over that little hump, and then all of a sudden it's go. And I think that's the main thing that I'd like to let people know about social media, at least.
Yes. Yeah. Take action and make it simple and just do it. Just do it.
Just
I
do it. We're
love
talking
it.
about Nike. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. There we go. We're talking about sneakers. All comes around
Yeah.
to LeBron and sneakers and Nike. Right. So Dr. Harbir Sian, thank you so much. It's what a pleasure speaking with you. I learned a lot from you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to interview you today. If I can return the favor to you in any way, please let me know. And where can people, we're going to put it in the show notes. We're going to put where can people reach you? So tell
For
us.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, Bob, I'd love to have you on the 2020 podcast. We'll figure that out. You know, everybody who's listening or watching this, please hop over to the 2020 podcast, and you'll probably see Bob there in the near future as well. The2020podcast.com is where you can find the podcast, or it's Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And then me on Instagram is usually the easiest, harbircyan.od, or you could search me on LinkedIn. I kind of have a similar presence on both of those platforms.
Awesome. Awesome.
Funny enough, I have more followers on TikTok, but I don't use TikTok very much.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
so you can find me there too, I guess.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. I stuck with LinkedIn and I just that's it. I have a
Yeah.
little bit of Instagram, but I guess you got to find your groove.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So, Harbir, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate this.
Take care.